This week on Head to Head, the Obi Wan series is confirmed.
You're listening to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Two fans, two generations, all things Star Wars begins now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Vansel.
And I'm Daryl Sanders.
And we're your hosts for this podcast. I did want to get to the whole, well, so as I stopped kicking the table, I wanted to get to the whole poster that was revealed from D23 last week.
Right.
You know, with Palpatine overlooking Kylo and Rey fighting and all that. Mm-hmm. I just have to say, man, since before we started rolling, you know, we were rewatching that whole Matt the Radar Technician skit on Saturday Night Live, and man, that was just hilarious.
Yeah, it was a stroke of genius, man. I mean, whoever came up with that needs an award.
Well, the thing that I thought was hilarious, now I remember you were just saying, too, that it's like, oh, they made him canon or whatever.
Yep.
But, I mean, the thing that's funny was, I remember, when was this? So I got Battlefront 2 like a year or two ago or something like that. Not too long after it came out, actually. And in one of the DLCs, they actually have Matt the Radar Technician as a playable character.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. Like, he even had his own, you know, little powers and stuff. I mean, it was just watching, you know, because the graphics in that game are so amazing. You know, you're running around as Matt the Radar Technician. It's like the best.
Yeah, I mean, that character is really hilarious. And I think, you know, it's a cool, funny thing that they just decided to stick that in there and kind of make it canon.
Yeah. Well, what did you hear that they even made it canon? What was all...
I just heard it, was a couple of days ago. I was just kind of scrolling through the net and whatever, just looking up news stuff. And they were just talking about like Matt the Radar Technician is now canon. And he's canon because he's in the game. Because you know how anything that's released by Lucasfilm, you know, like with the books, comics, all that is canon.
Well, see, that makes you wonder then. Does that mean that Kylo doing the whole undercover boss thing is now actually canon?
Yeah, I guess that's what makes it so hilarious.
That would be epic.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it hilarious because Lucasfilm is kind of like having fun with it all.
Yeah, I mean, and hands down, that's like to me, that's one of Saturday Night Live's most clever and funny skits that they've done in years.
I would have loved to have been in the office, like when like Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy, like when they finally saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just to see their reactions to it, like, you know, all the shareholders, like, oh, that's hilarious.
Well, and the fact that they, you know, because he's wearing, like, the actual Kylo Ren costume in that at a couple of points, and...
He's got this lightsaber out.
Yeah, he's got the lightsaber. I mean, you know, there was some production value that went into that, so it wouldn't surprise me if Lucasfilm, if not just loaned him props, even, you know, did a little bit of... production, like VFX on it.
What do you think a calcinator is?
Whatever it is, good old Matt didn't know how to wire it. Was the one card, what did it say? Like, after the rain comes rainbows or something? Sorry, I killed your son. Kylo.
And they had a sad face on it. Oh, my goodness.
If you guys, you know what? I'm linking it in the show notes.
Yeah, man, you got to look.
I'm putting a link to it in the show notes because if you guys haven't seen it and you're probably wondering what we're talking about, it was right after Force Awakens came out that Adam Driver hosted Saturday Night Live, and they did what is now this hilarious epic skit.
Yeah, based off Undercover Boss.
I was really hoping there would be another Matt the Radar Technician appearance after The Last Jedi came out.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get one, like, you know.
I hope so.
Yeah, after 9.
But I did want to touch on, even though we talked about it a little bit last week, before we go to the Cantina, I wanted to talk about that really cool poster with Palpatine and Kylo and Rey fighting. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think that that's actually, the more I look at it, as you know, I've had a week to digest it now. Mm-hmm. The more that I look at it, the more that I think it actually tells us that we're going to see a lot of Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, more so than what I thought, anyway. Yeah,
either we're going to see a lot of him, or it's going to be he's going to be mentioned heavily. I mean, I think he's going to be definitely play a central part of the storyline. I wonder how soon we're going to see him. I think we're probably not going to see him until maybe the second act. That's my hypothesis.
Well, what I'm wondering too is, you know, because of all this, now we got his laugh in the teaser trailer, but I wonder if we're going to get any Palpatine scenes in the next trailer.
I don't think so. I mean, well, yeah, I don't think so, because I think that's going to ruin the...
Well, what they could do is they could do a thing to where... You remember how, like, in the Rogue One trailer, even though the scene never actually made it into the film, like a lot of scenes in the Rogue One trailers, at least the early ones, excuse me, what they had that one scene where Vader was kind of like behind a console or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, I mean, now he didn't say anything, and there wasn't anything in there that indicated anything even remotely close to what his role in the movie was. But the point is, you saw him in the trailer. See, I'm wondering if they could do something similar with Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the difference between Vader and Palpatine, though, is that, like, okay, Rogue One, okay, you know, Vader's alive and well. You just kind of see him as a figure. But with the fact that we know that Palpatine assumably was dead at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Well, that's true. If they show him, then we're going to know. Is he a ghost?
Exactly. And I don't think they're trying to let that out yet. Yeah. I think they're trying to hold that.
Well, I guess we're just going to... It's going to be more laughing then.
Yeah, or I think it's going to be like a lot more voiceovers. I think we're going to hear like
voiceover
a lot of,
would be good.
You know...
Kind of like what they did with Luke in The Force Awakens, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see. You know, let us know what you guys think of the poster. I think it's just phenomenal. It's actually one of my favorite Star Wars posters. So hopefully it gives us a little bit of a glimpse as to what we can expect since Palpatine is featured so prominently. But let's feature ourselves in the Cantina, shall we?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go. What do we got first?
All right, first. Legendary film composer, the John Williams, has so far scored 135 minutes for The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, so you know what's weird about that?
That kind of gives us a time on the movie.
That's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know there's not music in every minute of the movie, so, you know, that means that the movie is longer. But it actually makes me wonder, though, like... Because, you know, sometimes you'll score that much, but then, you know, you'll back off or you'll edit a little bit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder if him scoring that much of, you know, that much music for the film, if that means that, are we going to get like a Avengers Endgame length Star Wars film? Or does it just mean that John Williams got really excited about the movie, which we do know he is, and he just got a little bit overzealous and composed a ton of music that's either going to be scaled back or maybe we're not going to hear all of it?
Well, a lot of things, what they've been saying is that, you know, John Williams' style is always to kind of hide his music within the scenes a lot of times. So you kind of have to listen or look for the songs sometimes.
That's true, because when I saw the Detroit Symphony Orchestra do A New Hope live... And what was cool about that was they actually showed the movie, but instead of the music being in the movie, the orchestra just played it live. And that gave me a whole new respect for what John Williams actually contributed, because now you're seeing all the incidental music, or hearing it, in a way that you hadn't really noticed it before. It actually brings more attention to it. And you're like, man, this is so brilliantly composed for this scene.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can say that we can all kind of listen for, I will say look for, but now we have to listen for it. And we'll probably see if we can all catch it, like when we catch Rise of Skywalker. But John Williams said, everything you have ever heard is going to be compiled in this last effort. Everyone, Leia, Yoda, Phantom Menace, Darth, all of it is going to be in there. So,
well, but here's the thing, and this is what makes this little headline a little strange. Did he actually write 135 minutes of music for the movie, or is it featuring them? Because a lot of these themes have already been written.
Right.
So that's all those themes plus 135 minutes of music.
Well, I mean, it says John Williams writing 135 minutes worth of music for The Rise of Skywalker. So
that means he wrote it.
He wrote it. So I think, and they, you know, up until this point, I think they said they have 34 minutes actually played out so far.
Well, that's going to be interesting because, as you know, I mean, I don't know. Did you get your ticket for the Empire Strikes Back DSO show yet?
I am buying it. I just had to buy plane tickets, so yes.
All right.
But I'm getting it.
Because on September 27th, at least me, Daryl maybe will go too, but
I'm right behind you.
Like last year, you couldn't do it because the accident prevented you from doing it. This year, they're doing The Empire Strikes Back. Same thing. Detroit Symphony Orchestra will actually play the music while the movie's being shown. So that's going to be cool because The Empire Strikes Back probably had, in my opinion, the coolest music of any of the films.
Now, if I recall correctly, they didn't do the audio like when they showed the movie.
When they showed the movie, they had the dialogue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, because that's what I thought, too. I thought maybe it was a DSO performance, but...
And they just took the scenes.
They just, had the scenes, but no. They literally showed the whole movie.
Wow.
Dialogue included. It just... They played the music. That's what made it so cool, and I didn't expect that. I thought maybe it was going to be, they're performing the music of The New Hope, and maybe they'll have a screen that shows certain scenes when they're playing whatever song.
When the song is actually featured in the movie, but not...
Right.
Yeah.
But no, this is the actual movie. Like,
that's really dope.
Imagine just going to your local theater and going to see a movie, but there's an actual orchestra playing the music instead of it being in the thing. I mean, it's an amazing experience. One that should not be missed. All right, what's next?
Well, next we have Clone Wars. So D23, they announced that the Clone Wars will be returning in February.
Yeah, finally, because that was the one thing that we never really knew. We knew that it was coming back, but we didn't know when. Like, they weren't clear. At first, we were like, well, maybe they'll do it when they premiere the Disney Plus service. But then that was somewhat unlikely because The Mandalorian's going to premiere, and you wouldn't necessarily want to give people too much.
Right, and then you got Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker comes out like a month later or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
it's kind of...
And so now 2 months after that, we get the Clone Wars return. And I'm really looking forward to this because also at D23, they even had a couple of stills. Like, they actually showed
some cool shots of Ahsoka,
in the World Between Worlds, which means that the World Between Worlds is going to be featured in this, which is kind of cool because that was a concept that we were introduced to in Rebels.
Yeah, and I really like that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it does, and it helps. There's a lot of people that are speculating maybe it's even going to be in Episode 9.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would... Because you almost have to wonder, like, okay, how do you, as a Force goes, like, how do you know where to appear or how to, it's like, can you summon a Force ghost? Can you, like, just ask for Kenobi and he shows up? Or does he just pop up when he feels like it's needed? Or
well, and it just makes you wonder which direction the story group and everybody's going to go with in canon, because in Legends, the old expanded universe, one of the things that was disappointing was right out the gate when you picked up Heir to the Empire, the excellent novel by Timothy Zahn. In fact, if you guys haven't read the Thrawn trilogy, or what's known as the Thrawn trilogy, which was the original trilogy of books that kicked off this whole new Star Wars craze, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, Last Command, all written by Timothy Zahn. Fantastic books. But in like the first couple of pages of this thing, Obi-Wan appears to Luke for what we find out is the last time. He basically says, listen, I'm going to give you some information, or I'm going to do whatever, but this is the last time I'm going to talk to you. I'm basically out. So it was sort of like Force Ghosts almost have like a shelf life in a way, but now they clearly are rewriting the whole concept of Force Ghosts, especially what we see in The Last Jedi. You have Yoda, who's pretty much a physical manifestation again. And this is what I'm thinking might happen with Palpatine.
Yeah.
Is that even if Palpatine is a spirit, he might actually be almost like in resurrected form. We'll have to see.
It may be like if you're that, maybe that's reserved for the super powerful.
Could be, which means Luke would probably have the same kind of thing going. I don't know. I mean, I'm really curious on what they're going to do with that, and I'm really curious on, because when you watch the Clone Wars trailer, there's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
There's Ahsoka's continuing story. Now she's not a Jedi anymore. And the interesting thing is, and this is true with Ashley Eckstein, that she had to go back to a more teenage Ahsoka mentality.
Yeah, because she was used to doing her normal voice.
Yeah, the Rebels one.
Oh, yeah, the older
where
version.
She was like older, exactly. Now she has to
kind of
go back in that mindset. And so, yeah, that's going to be really interesting. So, I don't know. Clone Wars returns in February. I'm, like, super amped up about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's hands down, like, one of my favorite, like, you know, I guess, animations of Star Wars, you know, that's ever been done. I mean, granted, I love Rebels, but Clone Wars just had something different.
Well, the thing about the Clone Wars, besides the fact that, I mean, it pretty much almost won as many seasons, is just the Clone Wars is meant to be a little bit more darker, a little bit more adult. You know, the first season was good, but I mean, that was one of the shows that each subsequent season just got better and better.
Yes.
You know, until you had, you know, the fifth season where you see Ahsoka just walk away from the whole thing. I mean, it was just, it was so powerful. Like, that whole season was amazing. The unofficial sixth season was good, and it definitely continued the story, but there's just something so powerful about the fifth, because the sixth, of course, was made up. There were some episodes that were complete, and then there were other ones that were incomplete, and they basically cobbled together and made somewhat of a sixth season. So this one is going to be, I guess we're going to call it season 7, but this is going to be the first, since season 5, the first intentionally done. And now Filoni can actually wrap this thing up the way he wants to wrap it up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm most excited for. Just
Absolutely.
To see, like, what he really had intended.
Yeah, what did he want to do? And now that he's had Rebels, he can actually take some of the lore from Rebels and put it into this. So I'm super excited about that. What about you guys? Are you excited about I mean, you got to be excited. It's the Clone Wars, it's Star Wars. Come on. But, I mean, to what degree? And what things are you looking forward to? I think that's what we actually want to know from you guys. What are you looking forward to in the Clone Wars the most? Hit us up at Head to Head SW on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All right, what do we got next?
So, Matt Smith is rumored to be a major villain in the Rise of Skywalker.
Phlegm is my major villain. It's like, geez, I'm hacking up a lung over here, having to clear my throat constantly. Bear with me, guys. This is going to be an interesting podcast. So we got Matt Smith as...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they say he may play one of the Knights of Ren, and then he may actually, this is the rumor, that he may be possessed by Palpatine.
Well, where's this from, though?
Just various sources on, like, internet, like the sci-fi, and I think...
Well, comicbook.com likes to do a lot of stuff. Were they one of them?
I think so. I think there might have been another person. I think, yeah.
Did you check out StarWarsNewsNet.com at all?
Yeah, I didn't.
Those guys are usually the most reliable.
Yeah, they're the most reliable. Now, I get a lot of my stories and sources from there, but this one didn't come from them.
It was like, I got it from fan fiction from a teenage boy. It's like this little 12-year-old. He swears it's true. Well, you know what? Who knows? I mean, the thing that's so exciting about this time is that, you know, it's speculation season.
Well, yeah, but I think a lot of people, with him, I guess, being in the film and whatnot, I just, you know, of course, everybody wants to know who's playing what, but there's really a lot of rumors that, okay, there's obviously some twist that JJ has up his sleeve. And
yeah, and being JJ, that could be true. But do you remember, like, when everybody was speculating that Benicio del Toro's character in The Last Jedi was probably like a grown-up Ezra or something?
Right.
And then he ended up being...
nothing.
Pretty much.
Absolutely nothing.
You know, but everybody was going like, oh, is he the Sith Lord? Is he like Ezra grown up?
He was a spokesperson for Hooked on Phonics. That's what he was.
You know, I mean... basically, he ended up playing this pretty insignificant character. I didn't hate him as much as you did. I actually thought his character showed promise. I just think that he wasn't used correctly in the film. But either way, he definitely wasn't anywhere near what everybody was speculating.
No, not at all.
And so that's why I say, you know, we have to be careful. Just because we know an actor is in a movie, we really don't know what they're playing.
True.
And I don't know. I mean, the fact that could he be a Knight of Ren? Possibly.
I could definitely see that.
That I could see. Of anything, any rumors that have been going around, that to me is the most plausible.
Makes a lot of sense.
Nice. Well, that actually wraps up the Cantina. I guess we can, maybe finish up our drinks and wander out and get ready to battle.
Yes, sir.
It's always fun doing.
Yes,
we have a lot of fun.
Nothing like drinking before a battle.
Yeah, right. It's probably why we battle. Well, no, I mean the thing that's funny about it though is like, okay, now last week we actually did end up on some opposite sides of the thing, but a lot of times Duel of the Fates ends up being like a love fest. Like we just end up agreeing with each other, and it's like, okay, not exactly what this whole thing was supposed to be, but
hey, well, hopefully today brings more promise, because that's what we have next. Duel of the Fates. All right, so this week it's Mace Windu versus.
Son, you're like Czechoslovakian.
I know. Versus Count Dooku. Who will win the duel?
I gotta say, it's gotta be Mace. It's gotta be Mace for a couple of different reasons. Number one, don't forget that Dooku is Yoda's Padawan. Mace is almost as powerful as Yoda, which in and of itself would almost make him more powerful than Dooku. But then the in-universe definite evidence I could say is look at how he was beating Palpatine almost.
Hey, but you always, liken to say that Palpatine was letting him win.
That's not necessarily what I've always thought, though. My thinking is that once he was starting to get defeated, then yes, I think he used the opportunity because he saw an opportunity to, turn Anakin and actually further the point. That's why I think that when he was shooting the lightning, at first I think it was definitely to try to overpower Mace. But Mace was not having any problems. And thinking about it, that's his lightning. Mm-hmm. He's super powerful. And yet Mace was blocking it, and then, of course, he was turning it back on Palpatine, which, of course, Palpatine decided to use to his advantage. But if you actually rewatch that whole fight scene, Mace clearly, even if you want to say that, okay, maybe Palpatine could have ultimately beat him, but just decided to let him, Palpatine was really dueling him. I mean, first of all, look at how Palpatine instantly, killed the other Jedi Masters. Mm-hmm. And Dooku was definitely giving him a run for his money. If you look at that duel and then look at the Dooku duels with, say, Anakin and Obi Wan.
Which one? The Attack of the Clones one or the Revenge of the Sith?
Either one, really. Because Dooku never really changed that much between the two. Anakin did. I mean, Obi Wan still was vanquished in the first 2 minutes of the fight. Mm-hmm. But Anakin was the one that actually showed a big difference in the way that he fought Dooku in 2 versus 3. But, when you look at Dooku or even Dooku versus Yoda, and even though that you can point to that and go, well, that's like a light side ultra power, but that was kind of like master versus student sort of thing. And there's a relationship there, almost the same as the Anakin Obi-Wan duel, where
they really don't want to hurt.
Yeah, they don't really want to kill each other. Mace wanted to kill Palpatine. Palpatine wanted to kill Mace. I just don't think there's any way in any... I mean, unless, you'd take a bowcaster to Mace or something, a la Kylo Ren. I just don't... I don't see Dooku winning that battle.
Well, let me ask you this question. So you made mention earlier that, how Mace was basically kicking Palpatine's butt. But Yoda, who is supposed to be more powerful than Mace, seemed to have a bit of trouble really just beating Palpatine.
Kind of. Not really. See, this is like Chris Hansen level, but according to the transcript, you clearly said. No, I mean...
You deny it.
Exactly. What's that in your pocket?
It's not that type of show, folks.
Exactly. Yeah, let's not... I'm going to end up doing like the show notes, and I'm going to have to be like, dang, I got to click that explicit content thing that I never have to do now. But the thing is that actually... they took turns getting the upper hand. Plus, don't forget, they were using... They started out with some lightsaber dueling, but it turned out to be like a big force power extravaganza, because that's really their... Forte. That's where they were, yeah, that was kind of their thing. Whereas one of the things that I actually thought was the coolest thing in Revenge of the Sith, honestly, was the fact that we finally got to see Palpatine duel with a lightsaber. That was something that I had been wondering about ever since I was a kid, and I saw the Emperor was like...
It doesn't even have one?
Yeah, does he even have one? Kind of the same thing with Yoda, really.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with both those guys. I'm like, man, how would it be if they duel? But especially the Emperor. That was just really weird. And to finally see him do a lightsaber duel was just so cool to me.
Yeah, I just think... I think if you compare them lightsaber wise, I don't know who will win between Dooku and Mace, because, I mean, quite frankly, Dooku was a master swordsman. I mean, he was like one of the best. And don't get me wrong, like Mace kind of created his own style. He kind of did the whole Bruce Lee thing, where he kind of melded a couple of styles together.
he did the light side and he did the dark side, kind of like an amalgamation, like you said, of the two.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I kind of wonder, like, that's why I picked those two, because I think he knows both sides, because he was once a Jedi master and then now he's a Sith Lord, and so, but he was powerful on both sides of the coin. But Mace, even though he's strictly light side, he tends to dabble a bit into the dark when necessary. So I wonder, and that's kind of what Anakin did in Revenge of the Sith.
Well, this is interesting. And looking this up, there's a couple of different, because it's like, who's stronger, Mace or Palpatine? They point out that 13 years before that thing, Mace is a better lightsaber combatant than he was before, when he actually lost to Dooku. But then, now he would beat him. It'd be a close fight, but he would win.
Cool. So Dooku beat Mace before.
He beat Mace before, but he wouldn't beat him now. That's what, is being said. That he's a better lightsaber combatant, and even though it would be close, he wouldn't beat him now.
Now, I wonder, does that include the Force as well? Using I get it. If you're sticking,
like
if you're sticking strictly just lightsaber and that's it. Yeah, but then of course, Dooku.
Well, it's tough to say, because like in Dark Disciple, Mace was actually calling for Dooku to be killed. I mean, actually, that's what's really funny is Dark Disciple deals a lot with Dooku, with Mace, with this whole history. All this stuff. And, the thing is like you said, because Mace uses a lot of dark side-ish techniques, who knows? He might force choke and shoot lightning too. We just never saw it. I mean, who knows if... I mean, that's where it is a really good thing, because, in speculating about this, you really don't know what Mace would actually do, because other than the Palpatine duel, we really haven't seen, well, and of course on Geonosis, when he was going to cut down a bunch of other people, but we really haven't seen.
Yeah, aside from the cartoon with the Clone Wars. Yeah, we saw him in that, but
right. But it's still tough to say. I would still say that Mace in a lightsaber duel, definitely.
I think Mace will edge out in that, but I think overall, the knowledge of the Force and everything like that, I might give the edge to Dooku.
Well, see, normally I would agree with you, except for the fact that, like you said, Mace knows a lot of the dark side techniques. So, you could say that, okay, once Dooku switched from the Jedi to the Sith, it's almost like he has the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But Mace does too. He just doesn't publicize it that much.
Well, I think but see, I think it's one thing to be familiar with him, and then there's another thing to master him.
Well, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he was a master. Like, Dooku was a master on the light side, and he was a master on the dark. That's the difference.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the only reason why. And then, of course, with him being the Padawan of Yoda, it's kind of like he pretty much almost knows everything that Yoda knows. So, and Yoda being over Mace is kind of like,
Well, let's see, because I'm looking him up. I'm looking now to see like what.
Maybe our friends at Sith Talkers, they can answer this one.
Yeah, maybe. It's really tough because there's a lot of information out there. I don't exactly know how much of it is canon at this point. That's the problem.
That's the issue.
And that's really where it comes down to it, because we know, there's a lot of battles and things like that are definitely canonized, especially because they actually came from the Clone Wars predominantly. But, it's just one of those things where you don't really know. And I think that that's really the biggest problem. I mean, he's definitely, one of the most powerful Jedi without question.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mace is my guy.
But it's kind of like, and you see, the other thing too is, other than, okay, Qui-Gon face Maul, obviously Anakin and Obi Wan face Dooku, and then of course you had the original trilogy stuff against Vader, Mace faced Palpatine, but kind of like you said, Palpatine was pretty much playing weaker than he was, because the idea was Anakin probably wouldn't have turned if Palpatine had used his full power against Mace, because then it would have almost confirmed what Mace was saying. The idea is that even though Palpatine revealed himself more or less to be a Sith, it was sort of like he was trying to show Anakin that, the Sith or the
Jedi weren't as clean cut as they're saying.
Exactly. And that actually, in some ways, they were holding everything back, and the Sith way was really the good way, but the Jedi are painting them out to be evil. Well, that's why he was playing a little bit weaker, so, he can more or less emphasize that point. So, I don't know. I'm still going to say Mace, though, just because I think I'm going to go with, if it's strictly lightsaber, Mace. If it's both, I'm going to go with Dooku. What do you guys? What are your thoughts? You could DM us on Instagram, because a lot of you guys do that. You don't even, you'll just pretty much DM us. That's cool. Write to us at head-to-head-SW on Facebook or Twitter. Send a message, carrier pigeon.
Golden Retriever.
Yeah, Golden Retriever, St. Bernard. However you guys want to contact us. Hey, we even have an email address.
For those of you
those of you guys who, I don't know, really want to go 1990s on us and email us, you could do so, Star Wars at head-to-head-SWpodcast.com. It's a thing that I always have to put out there. Or you could just do it in the comments section of our podcast or on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. All right, what's next?
And next we have From a Certain Point of View.
Yes, our featured topic. And it's a big one this week.
Yes.
Actually, we previewed it for you guys last week, so it shouldn't be a mystery, really, but...
So I'll just say, hello there.
Yes. The Obi Wan series has finally been confirmed. It's not as if we didn't know that something was happening. I mean, Ewan McGregor was talking about not only how he would love to come back as Obi-Wan, but they were in talks with him. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago where the movie was all but about to be announced.
Yeah.
They had a director, they had a script. Ewan wasn't. They never came out and say he officially signed on, but we knew that it was pretty close, and then nothing. Mm-hmm. That was when Iger basically pulled the plug on, pretty much everything. And then I remember you and I would talk about it. I know a lot of Star Wars shows like Jedi Council, Star Wars Explained, all the big YouTube shows, Star Wars Theory.
I was just about to say Star Wars Theory.
Yeah, Star Wars Theory. Websites like StarWarsNewsNet.com. I mean, a lot of these guys were basically saying, okay, why not make it well, at the time they were going to say Netflix series, and then of course Disney announced Disney Plus, so then it was like, well, it's a no-brainer. It's got to be a Disney Plus series. And now, finally, after much speculation and theorizing, we get the confirmation. Ewan McGregor appears at D23, and it's on.
Yep.
The Obi Wan series is on.
Yeah, it'll be streaming on Disney Plus. We don't have a date of when that's going to happen yet.
Nope, we just know it starts filming pretty much as soon as the old calendar flips to 2020.
Yeah, and then also that it's going to be only 6 episodes, at least to begin with, so far.
Yep.
So I know you've been really hankering for this.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I was watching Jedi Council a little over a week ago, which, of course, they talked about it as soon as the news... Well, the news actually broke on the day they were shooting. And I think they even... Because usually they do their shows now Thursdays at 8. So the news had broken maybe a couple hours before they went on. And they were bringing up all kinds of points, because it's true, man. I mean, the Obi-Wan series or an Obi-Wan movie is actually one of the most interesting things that you could do, because there's so much story there that from the Star Wars point of view needs to be told. And especially when you consider all the stuff that they started talking about in Rebels and things like that, just all kinds of stuff. And to actually see this finally with Ewan McGregor, because there was even talk, I mean, this is kind of stupid, but they were even considering having another actor play him.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you can't. Don't make it at all if you're going to do that.
Exactly. Like, we've already accepted him as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and the thing that's funny is, like, I remember when, The Phantom Menace came out, and it's like, oh, wow. Somebody other than Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan?
Yeah. But at least he was, like, significantly younger, so it was kind of like...
Yeah, and you're right. That did soften the blow. But the point is, though, by the time, the end of Revenge of the Sith... When you think of Obi-Wan, you think of Ewan McGregor now.
True.
In fact, I think it was funny, too, because even to call him Obi-Wan all the time was a little weird, because we always knew Ben Kenobi. But now to say Ben Kenobi is weird.
Yeah, I mean...
Remember that Xbox game that came out in 99, the Obi-Wan game?
Yes, I have it. I have it, yeah.
That's right. I think we actually played it back then.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Obi-Wan, I mean, I think he's a really cool character. I think he has a lot of depth. And I remember, like, when we were first discussing, him possibly having a series, and I always asked, like, okay, well, what in the world could he do? Because it just seems like it will be counterproductive to his mission of just watching over Luke. 1, and then 2 is like, okay, well, if he's out doing all these little missions or whatever, like, he can run the risk of 1, getting himself killed, 2, and then not really being able to watch over Luke. And then 2, he start using the Force and crap, Vader's going to Vader's going to start picking up on that. And I'm like, okay, so I'm really just curious. I mean, I'm not saying that I've softened my stance on it, like, okay, and I'm definitely willing to see, like, what kind of stories are they going to tell with him being there, because it's kind of like... Well,
there's all kinds of stuff. You got to put yourself in the mind of where Obi-Wan was at. He was a hardened war veteran at this point. So he's going from the Jedi are like the peacekeepers of the galaxy. Now, in pretty much the blink of an eye, they're extinct. He's on the run. He has to hide out, and he has to now watch over this kid. That's an incredible mind shift.
True. That
he has to do. The stories that you could tell of how he deals with this change, how he comes to terms with this.
So you mean like more from like the emotional side?
Well, there's that. The fact that he has to deal with things like, look at the new game that's coming out, Jedi Fallen. I mean, this guy is hiding, so he has to use the Force subtly, because if he uses it openly, he could get noticed. So Obi-Wan has to do the same thing. And he was once General Kenobi. He was like this big shot in the Republic Jedi army, basically. And it's like he has to come to terms with this incredible shift, and he knows he has to protect this kid, you know, and you know that it's like when you look at Owen Lars's reaction to him in A New Hope, it's like, how did that relationship break down? There's all kinds of things that can happen there. The big line that a lot of people point to that I never really thought about before, because people have been speculating, will Vader show up in it? And at first I was kind of like, well, how can that happen? Makes sense, though, because in Return of the Jedi, when Luke was talking about trying to turn him, and he was like, Obi Wan once thought as you do. And you tie that in with, you know, Obi Wan saying, oh, he's more machine now than man. A lot of people have pointed out the last time that we saw that he saw him, he was burning to a crisp on lava.
Well, yeah, I think that part, I think
it's like, how do we know? So,
I mean, when you say, you know, Obi-Wan once thought as you do, you know what I'm saying? That's probably that whole argument they had right before they dueled. Because he was like, you know, you were the chosen one, you were supposed to, you know, fight it, not join it, you know, so they both was like, but in my mind, you know, well, the Jedi are evil, then you are lost, you know, so that whole argument like took place.
But there's a lot of evidence, though, that because nobody knew who Darth Vader was. How did he know that was Anakin?
How did he? Oh, you mean like, because when he said he's more machine now than
I mean, he knows Darth Vader is Anakin. It's kind of like a lot of people have been pointing out, and these are things that I never even thought of before, but there's a lot of evidence that they ran into each other, and maybe Obi-Wan tried again to reach him, and it didn't work. So there's stories there. Another area where there's stories is Yoda told him, like, look, I got a lot for you to do. You got to learn how to, you know, you got to commune with Qui-Gon. You got to, another thing they made canon actually recently was when they discovered, or Luke went off to, remember when basically Owen and Beru were burnt up, and Luke had gone off and then he came back. During that time that Luke was gone, Obi-Wan was basically talking to Qui-Gon. So that's basically a canon thing now. Because another really rich thing that they could do is Obi-Wan was convinced that Anakin was the chosen one. He was the one that was going to bring balance to the Force.
You said Obi-Wan's convinced?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess. Sort of.
Well, totally.
Well, I mean, I think he was more so like...
Well, he was. I mean, first of all, it's like, if you think about it, Qui-Gon, with his dying words, of all the things he could have done, his dying words were, you got to train this boy. He's a chosen one. Now, Obi-Wan was very skeptical about that at that time. In fact, he was kind of like, dude, what? But then, it's kind of like as time went on, you could tell, like, in his Revenge of the Sith things from things that he said, and then even at the end when he was all heartbroken, like, you were the chosen one. You're supposed to bring balance, you know.
Yeah, but I think he believed. Well, I think, and that kind of brings it back to the Master and Apprentice book we were talking about with the whole prophecies thing, you know. And it's just kind of like he realized that his master Qui-Gon Jinn was really heavy into the prophecies and things of that nature, and I think he was just really more or less doing his master a solid, really, like, okay, you know, as his last dying
but his
wish.
attitude, though, wasn't one of just doing him a favor. I mean, he was starting to believe it. He was training him up. Boy, he should have, of course. But, I mean, he was always reminding Yoda, because Yoda and Mace were a little skeptical, but, you know, because Obi-Wan came to realize, like, look, I mean, Qui-Gon saw something in him, and he could see that, because he's with Anakin all the time. He sees his, like, crazy, freakish abilities.
Yeah.
He begins to see that. Well, the thing is, he goes from that to now believing that Luke is the one who's actually going to bring balance to the Force. How did that happen? You know, where did that go? Now, you could say, well, if it's his kid, it's not him. Maybe it's going to, You know, like how some diseases skip a generation and go to the next.
Well, I think it's just more like who's going to be able, who likely will have the best chance. I mean, because like at that point, Obi-Wan was too old to really do anything.
Leia was the one that Yoda wanted.
But I think, well, has that been confirmed?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was canonized. It was in from a certain point of view, but that was canonized a while ago. That because that's why Yoda's, you know, when he was like, "That boy is our only hope." No, there is another. The background to that is you find out that Yoda wanted Leia to be the one, but Obi-Wan pushed for Luke because he saw something in him that.
Well, I just figured like it would make more sense for Luke because Luke was basically coming out of nowhere, as opposed to Leia's already like she's already solidified in the political realm. So it's kind of like okay for her than then just.
Well, that's why I actually want to read. I want to read that book too because besides all the short stories and the cool things that are in it, I want to see really did they elaborate on what did Luke or Yoda actually see in Leia. I can actually understand it even without it because, look, she's the calmer one. If you think about it, Luke exhibited a lot of Anakin-like tendencies. And so Yoda was probably like, seriously, dude? Okay, first you're pushing for Anakin. You saw where that got us.
Well, you would think that if that was the case, then Yoda still outranks him. So you would think...
Not to mention, it's like Yoda's all like, you know what? Last I checked, I'm alive. You're dead. Go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the point is that Obi-Wan convinced him. You know, you haven't really lived.
Few good man references, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, like, I think what it is just that Leia would be the last chance because it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's how we all took it. It's kind of like, well, that boy, you know, you almost kind of like, well, okay, if he screws this up, well, we got Leia. We got another one. Which is why it's really interesting that Yoda, I could see that because she's a little bit more rational. She's calmer, very diplomatic, very at peace.
Well,
she exhibits
somewhat because she's feisty too, man. I mean,
she is a little small. Well, so is Yoda, if you remember. You know, not to mention the fact that even in Rogue One, you know, Bail Organa talks to, or Mon Mothma's like, hey, you still got that Jedi friend that we can, which of course is Obi-Wan. So obviously he's still involved somehow with the rebellion. You know, Leia, who's never really met him, and we know that because she's like, you know, when she's addressing him, it's kind of like, well, years ago, you know, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Like, hey, remember? Mm-hmm. So there's all this story from all these different angles that they could approach it.
That's true.
That makes it a really interesting time because it actually would tie a lot of things together. In fact, the Obi Wan story would tie together the prequels with the original trilogy and maybe a little bit beyond.
You got to wonder where they're going to start.
That's the thing. Where are they going to start? I mean, my guess is they're probably going to start sometime, obviously, between 3 and 4. Because this is another one where we kind of know, in fact, even before that, because we know that Maul faces him again.
Yeah.
So, sometime between 3 and 4, and it's probably going to be close to when 3 happened. Because they actually want to deal with probably the whole, okay, he was once, you know, his whole situation just changed overnight, and how's he going to deal with that? And then he's got to do all this homework that Yoda gave him. And
do you think that Obi-Wan was actually helping Yoda cloud the dark side?
It could be. I mean, I know the whole clouding the dark side came from, that was one of the reasons why Yoda went to Dagobah, because it was full of life, and it kind of made it a force amplifier. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Not to mention, I don't think that actually happened, though, until Obi-Wan died, because that's why he was trying to warn Vader, like, look, if you strike me down, I'm going to be more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Well, I think he was just telling that because he didn't think Vader knew anything about, and I don't think Vader did at that time, knew a thing about Force Ghosts.
He didn't. And that's the thing. But if I'm just Force Ghost, you could probably do all kinds of things.
I mean, you probably have more influence, I guess, into the Force because you're part of it. You're in it.
You're in it.
But I think...
So from that standpoint, yes, I do think he was actually helping.
Well, what I mean by like, I'm talking about in the beginning though, like while, you know, Luke was, you know, before Luke even started his mission, do you think, you know, because Yoda was trying to cloud it and everything like that. I'm just saying, like, you would think you would need all the help that you can get with that.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a master. I mean, who else is out really left around? So,
well, and that's the other thing that's going to be interesting to see too, because I'm wondering, you know, even jumping back on the Mandalorian a little bit, you know, what other Jedi are we going to see now that Palpatine's rule has come to an end? What other Jedi are like, hey, cool, it's safe to come out now? And I think in a way, in the Obi Wan series, they might be able to deal with some other Jedi that escaped the Order. And
yeah, I mean, I can see that, like him. I can see like
and him helping the rebellion,
trying to help them get free or get away from certain situations or something like that.
So I mean, in that sense, I think that if you know, I can't see like Obi-Wan actually helping to cloud the light side. That almost seems like a Yoda level thing. Because if you think about it, Palpatine's the one that was clouding the light side by himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like once you sort of know how to do it and you can achieve that, that's just something you can do. And Yoda using Dagobah as like a force amplifier, in a sense, was able to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas Obi-Wan, I think, is more... So, you know, Yoda's doing the more force-based, mystical side of defeating the Empire, where Obi-Wan's more actually helping the, you know, physically, boosting the rebellion, basically, helping them out. Okay. So it'll be interesting. And that's why I'm really, you know, and everybody's amped up about it. I just wonder how they're going to do it. Like, how many seasons do they intend to go? Is it going to be just like, because, you know, if they do a 6-episode thing, right, and let's just say it's an hour each, well, that's equivalent to a 6-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
They could essentially wrap up the Obi Wan story in one season.
True.
Or they can, you know, have it go 2 or 3. Either way, what about you guys? Do you think that, where do you think this is going to fall in the timeline? Are you excited to see it? What kinds of things do you guys want to see in the Obi-Wan series? And in fact, let's do what we did last time. Top 3 things you want to see in Obi-Wan.
I kind of want to see Yoda. I want to see... I really would love to see what story in the time period. I guess that's really the main thing. And I do want to see a live battle between him and Maul at the end.
Okay. So my 3 is, let's see. I really want to see, basically, what time period this is taking place in. I want to see it be just after episode 3, because I want to see Obi-Wan deal with that whole change. You know, what does that entail? How does he get used to doing it? How does he become Ben Kenobi? You know, where does he get that whole thing from? Second thing...
Found some rights and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Right, exactly. Oh, man. Hey, how have you been?
Oh.
All right. I like it. I know. Hey, man, that's not as bad as Han Solo. You're by yourself. I mean, really? But anyway. I'll let that one go for now. Second thing, I do want to see him interacting with Vader. I would like to see Obi-Wan try one more time to turn Vader back to the light side. Third thing, basically him helping the rebellion. Because I really want to see him interacting with Bail Organa. I actually think that Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa would be one of the biggest things one of the most likely things that we'll see. Like if I had to bet on something like, okay, of all the people that could, you know, return, that would be the one. But what about you guys? What are your top 3 things that you would like to see in the Obi-Wan series? I mean, hey, we got Obi-Wan. We got Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. That was number 1. So let us know at head-to-head-SW on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Leave a comment. You guys know the drill. All right, well, much like what Obi-Wan had to do when he went on to Tatooine, it's time to clear your mind. That's right. This is where we answer your questions.
Well, I know Ben Kenobi wish he had somebody to answer his.
Yeah, right? So what do we got first?
All right, we have one coming from Smokey Joe.
Okay.
Hey, anonymity sometimes.
Oh, hey, whatever gets you going. What smoke signal has he sent?
Yeah.
I know, it's terrible.
Comparing to other Jedi / Force users, how powerful do you think Rey is?
Well, that's the whole problem. I think she's like immensely powerful, and that's why I said last week that we need to get some answers. Like, who is this woman? And where is she getting all this power from? Because she's definitely... I mean, I honestly think that by the time the Rise of Skywalker hits, she's, if not equal with Kylo, she could almost surpass him at that point.
So that's who you comparing, like, out of all the Force users / Jedi we know?
Well, I mean, I'm comparing to, like, her contemporaries, obviously. I mean, if we need to compare... I mean, I guess... people want us to compare the other ones. I mean, like she's definitely... She's... By now, I think she's as powerful as Return of the Jedi Luke.
Okay.
Even... It might be a raw power where she hasn't... But, I mean... And I'm talking the beginning of Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. Not
necessarily... I mean... Almost at the end of the last... The only reason why I say maybe not the end of the Last Jedi is because she's still... She's obviously powerful, but she hasn't refined it yet. She's still... I mean, she didn't really learn the whole... I think her doing that whole thing with all those rocks, that was like us learning like, wow, she actually has control now. Mm-hmm. Now she could be deliberate with her Force powers.
Yeah, if I had to compare her, I would compare her to... Obi-Wan, circa Phantom Menace.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Not even circa Revenge of the Sith?
No.
Well, yeah,
no.
That's a good point. He was like a master duelist by that time.
Man,
actually, yeah,
she's
Revenge
not
of the
taking on Anakin.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I think
no, that's a good. You're right, because actually, Phantom Menace Obi-Wan did have a lot of Force power.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty cool.
Good.
And I think if you look at it like evenly matched, like, okay, Obi-Wan and Maul were both kind of like, they kind of had that, I don't want to say similarities, but I think they were.
No, that's actually a really good
I think they were meant for each other, though.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where Rey is, where Obi-Wan at that time, he knew how to use the mind trick. We all know Rey knows how to do it, but
yeah.
Obi-Wan did it on Jar Jar.
Yeah, super speed.
Yeah,
even though we haven't seen Rey exhibit yet, I'm sure she could do it.
Yeah, but I mean, like with the flip that she was doing over this whole speeder thing,
Yeah, and I could see Phantom Menace era Obi-Wan doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Phantom Menace era Obi-Wan was
that's a good one.
Pretty solid.
I totally agree. Maybe Sith Lord Jar Jar.
Yeah. So that's
Let's go with that one.
All
right. That's our official answer. All right. What's next?
All right. Now here's a good one for you, since these are your favorite.
Oh, I know the answer.
I knew you would have one. Is there? Well, let's see. Terrence Lomax.
Let's just do this right now.
Yes, Terrence Lomax.
Plus, he used his real name.
Yeah,
probably.
If that's your real name.
Yeah, if that's your real name.
Is there a bounty hunter that you think is better than Boba Fett?
Cad Bane.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It's no contest, dude. Cad Bane was taking out Jedi. Yeah. And Cad Bane actually can duel with a lightsaber.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cad Bane.
I mean, that's hands down. Cad Bane could like mop the floor with Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I love Boba Fett. He's like probably my favorite bounty hunter. I would even almost say IG-88.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that the novel that I would base that on, which is Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina, is not canon anymore. So
You're right.
it would be tough. But even looking at the Mandalorian trailer, right? Now, it's not IG-88.
But it's still an IG model.
It's an IG model. And IG-88 actually, again, we have to see where new canon falls in this, but IG-88 is like extremely fast, really powerful,
And
very
deadly.
accurate, deadly, and he basically like altered his own programming and
Yeah, another thing about like he doesn't get tired. Like, I mean, that's the thing about he's relentless because he's a droid.
yeah.
I mean, that's how from getting, put on the power charger every now and then. But, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, Dengar is actually pretty ruthless too, but I don't think he's better than Boba Fett, though. I mean, Boba Fett's pretty...
I think he's crafty.
Yeah. See, the person that should be weighing in on this is Daniel Logan, right? The guy that played...
Well, he's going to say. I will beat it anyway.
Exactly. But I mean, the thing is that, but Cad Bane, I can, hands down, I could say he's easily more powerful than Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What about you guys? You guys disagree? Does somebody... Because you know what? And the thing is that you can't possibly keep up with all the comics and the books. And, even people that do Star Wars as a full-time job can't even keep up with it, much less us.
Right.
I'm still trying to get through Thrawn Treason. I'm not even a third of the way into the book yet. So, if you guys know of another canon source that maybe refutes that, but I don't think there is. Like I said, Cad Bane's like dueling with lightsabers. He's actually defeating Jedi. So, even though I know Boba Fett has had his moments, and we all know that Boba Fett could defeat Wookiees. And Wookiees are pretty powerful. Again, I'm not saying that Boba Fett's not powerful, but Cad Bane, I think, would edge him out. But what do you guys think? Let us know at Head SW on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's going to do it for our show this week, I think.
Yes, sir.
Thing is, we don't even know what we're going to talk about next week. We don't know partially because we don't know... We don't really want to button down anything now. We're out of D23 stuff to talk about.
But I'm sure we probably will talk about the sizzle reel that will...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, because that's going to come out before we record our next thing. That's the thing that's really cool about nowadays is that there's so many things to talk about Star Wars related. It's crazy.
Yeah.
News is coming at us fast and furious, no pun intended. That's another franchise for another time. All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed our show this week. We'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.